This is a nanowall of incredible resilience, impervious to any substance known on Earth. If you attempt to breach it with a bullet, this is the result you get. And the newly released disaster thriller film Brick revolves precisely around this very wall. One morning, after arguing with her husband Tim, Olivia opened her door to find her apartment building sealed off by a dark wall, assuming it was Tim's doing. But Tim was equally bewildered. He tried knocking on the wall but got no response, and the security system showed only static. As they stood confused, preparing to investigate elsewhere, the brick wall suddenly emitted a flash of light. It was then they realized, not just the main entrance, but even the windows were completely sealed by the dark wall. Desperate to leave, Olivia grew frantic. She tried calling a friend, only to discover both mobile signals and Wi-Fi were completely blocked by the dark wall. Thinking proximity might yield different results, they approached, but the wall seemed to emit radiation. The closer they got, the more their phone screens flickered. What on earth is this thing? Olivia, an architect by trade, grabbed an electric drill, and they began testing frantically. Yet, even as the drill bit glowed red hot, it left not a single mark on the dark wall. So they started drilling throughout the apartment, only to realize after penetrating an entire room that the entire building seemed encased solidly by the dark brick. Who possesses the power to completely seal off their entire building overnight? Just then, arguing voices came through the wall behind their decorative painting. It was the neighbors. Indeed, the dark brick hadn't sealed the adjacent apartment. After drilling a small hole through the wall, they discovered the panicked couple next door, the Marvins. They were tourists, staying in a temporary rental, never expecting this. Marvin cursed, vowing to demand a refund from the landlord. But first, they needed to get out. Clearly, the neighbors couldn't help, and Tim, overwhelmed, hurled his phone at the wall in frustration. But the next moment, Tim noticed something strange. A fragment of the phone's chip was stuck to the wall's surface. It was magnetic. Intrigued, the couple immediately began testing again, placing various metal utensils against the surface. After repeated attempts, they found 4 specific spots on the wall with the strongest magnetic pull. But then, an accident occurred. This attempt ended with Tim injured. After tending to his wounds, shaken by their close call, they finally gave up testing. Perhaps it's all God's plan. After all, if Olivia had actually left earlier, their marriage might have shattered. Just as they consoled themselves with this thought, loud noises erupted from the Marvins' apartment next door. Tim peered through the hole and saw the Marvins seemingly in a physical altercation. So they widened the hole with the drill, grabbed a baseball bat, and went next door. They soon found bloodstains on the floor and Anna unconscious by the bed. They woke her and tried to lead her away, but suddenly, Marvin burst out, pinning the unsuspecting Tim down. Luckily, Olivia acted just in time, knocking Marvin down with a can of pepper spray, but Anna shouted at them in a frenzy. It turned out the Marvins had taken too much medication, causing hallucinations. The blood on the floor was actually Marvin's. However, Marvin was still clearly disoriented, so they restrained his hands first. Tim and Olivia then headed to the storage room, searching for anything useful to escape. But there, Olivia stumbled upon a pile of miniature surveillance cameras. Before she could say anything, Tim excitedly grabbed a sledgehammer and immediately tested it on the dark wall. Reality, however, was harsh. The wall remained unmarked. Olivia suddenly remembered something. She suggested that since a frontal assault was impossible, they should try going down to the basement. As an architect, she had researched the building. This old structure was modified during World War II, and the basement should have a door leading directly to a bomb shelter connected to the modern city's subway system, so they could break through downwards. Anna mentioned seeing many videos online last week about unidentified flying objects. It could be aliens. But Marvin believed it was the landlord Friedman's doing, maybe part of a secret escape room game. Just then, the lower apartment was breached. Tim climbed down using bed sheets only to confirm it too was sealed by the brick wall. Suddenly, an armed old man, Oswald, appeared, warning Tim not to touch his supplies and demanding he leave immediately. Tim and the group tried to explain they only wanted passage to the basement, but Oswald refused to listen. He believed the apocalypse had arrived and needed to protect himself. This continued until his granddaughter Leah arrived. She tried to reason with her grandfather, but Oswald insisted.
Ja, in 3 Tagen werden deine Nachbarn dich für einen Schluck Wasser umbringen.
In 3 Tagen sind wir schon lange hier raus, wenn wir da runterkommen, und das weißt du.
Es gibt diese Tunnel da unten, richtig?
However, Leah persisted in believing these people were neighbors, and they should help each other, forcing Oswald to reluctantly agree. Just as Marvin was swinging the sledgehammer at the floor with all his strength, Tim suddenly noticed something. There seemed to be something strange inside the smoke detector that had fallen from their floor. It was a tiny hidden camera, identical to the ones they had seen earlier in the storage room. According to Oswald, the landlord Friedman had forced them to install these some time ago, and besides here, there were more in places like the kitchen. Sure enough, they saw tiny hidden cameras again. It seemed Friedman was involved. Perhaps he was the mastermind behind this escape room game, and they wouldn't let him get away with it. And Friedman lived right next door. They smashed through the brick wall and entered Friedman's apartment. Compared to theirs, Friedman's room was incredibly luxurious, indicating his wealth. But where was he? How could he stay silent with all the noise from the hammering? Could he be dead? He was indeed dead, lying beside a brick wall with half his arm missing. The group momentarily felt nauseous, but Tim suppressed his fear to examine the room, quickly spotting Friedman's phone on the floor. The phone screen was on the camera interface displaying a photo of the brick wall, nothing else. Trapped and faced with a bizarre death, emotions ran high. They even suspected the world might be controlled by some super intelligence, or they had been transferred to a virtual reality. Just then, Olivia found yesterday's newspaper reporting a major fire in their town that had caused severe traffic disruptions. Just then, the floor below was breached. After struggling to wake up from the fall, they immediately helped Oswald and Leah down. But then, a man appeared, introducing himself as Yuri, a friend of Anton, the tenant on this floor. Hearing their goal was to reach the basement and escape via the bomb shelter, Yuri strangely suggested they might have misjudged the black wall. It was likely protecting them, as a nuclear war might have erupted outside, and the wall shielded them from the blast wave and radiation.
Super, ultra.
No one believed his story. Olivia even asked where Anton was. Anton is dead. Yuri explained he had visited Anton last night. Discovering the wall in the morning, Anton with his pacemaker went to inspect it, but the device instantly failed. Tim remembered his phone's reaction and immediately believed Yuri. The black wall truly affected electronic devices. However, their goals differed from Yuri's, so they didn't linger. As they smashed the floor, Leah discovered some papers covered with complex symbols scattered in the bedroom. She went to look. These things resembled Morse code, but seemed more advanced, and the back appeared to show calculation results. Just then, Yuri interrupted her, stating Anton became obsessed with these things, which led to his heart condition. Leah believed him and left to join the others in the basement. They could finally leave this damned place. Breaking through the iron door ahead would reveal the truth. The result plunged them into utter despair. The basement was also sealed by the black wall, yet this seemed anticipated by Yuri. Marvin in the basement couldn't take it anymore. He snatched the gun from Oswald. However, and because Oswald was killed by the reflected bullet, no one dared act rashly again. They called Yuri over, trying to deduce the reason for their entrapment, like shared experiences or similarities in their lives. It proved their life paths and experiences were completely different. So why then? Tim then remembered the photo on Friedman's phone. Friedman must have known something about the black wall, and he had installed surveillance in their rooms. So where were his monitor and main unit? They split up. Tim and Marvin went to search Friedman's room for clues, while the three girls looked for traces on each floor. Leah recalled Anton's documents again. One of the arrangement patterns perfectly matched the brick wall's design. And Olivia discovered these 4 squares corresponded exactly to the 4 magnetic wall locations they had found. Next, they found Anton's business card in the trash. Anton worked for Nano Defense Technologies. They asked Yuri, but he claimed to know nothing. It seemed they were on their own. After searching, Leah and Olivia finally found a shattered laptop and a smashed phone. Yuri stated Anton would smash them to pieces when stressed, but Leah and Olivia clearly doubted this. Leah then found more calculation papers in the trash bin. Yuri just chuckled coldly. Meanwhile, Tim noticed something odd in Friedman's room. The wall in front of him was hollow behind. While he searched for a way in, Marvin simultaneously found something resembling a remote control. He pressed it, and the wall reacted, though he'd clearly entered the wrong code. Tim, a programmer, immediately took over. He first asked for flour and blew it lightly onto the panel. Now only 24 code combinations remained. Anna quickly called the others over. Yuri's warning was cut off. Now only Leah remained in Anton's room. Meanwhile, Tim successfully cracked the secret room's code. Inside was Friedman's secret surveillance room, multiple monitors displaying feeds from every room in the building simultaneously. Friedman truly was a voyeur, but Yuri's expression visibly darkened. While the others examined the monitors, he quietly slipped out of the secret room. Meanwhile, rewinding the footage, they saw the black wall had condensed instantly from some eerie black smoke. Just then, Leah grew increasingly alarmed. The more she looked, the more Anton's research seemed intrinsically linked to the black wall. And turning, she noticed Anton's scarf looked terribly mismatched with his outfit. She pulled it down and found bruises on his neck. Just then, Yuri returned. Meanwhile, the group noticed Yuri was missing, and Marvin immediately went to search for him. At that moment, Tim pulled up the footage from Anton's room. After the black wall descended, Anton walked to the door with his phone. Then its flash started flickering rapidly. An outside light seemed to flood into the room.
Was ist das?
Das ist das Licht aus dem Treppenhaus.
He had actually figured out how to open the black wall. Just then, Marvin was shouting for Yuri down the hallway, getting no response. Upon reaching Anton's room, he discovered Yuri throwing a stack of papers into a trash bin to burn them, and turning around, he saw Leah was already dead. Marvin panicked a little, but Yuri stated eerily that the wall was truly protecting them, and he had warned Leah not to meddle. Simultaneously, Tim discovered a horrifying scene on the surveillance footage. Yuri suddenly rushed out of the room and directly strangled Anton, who had just opened the black wall. So it was him! Tim immediately grabbed the gun and rushed back, just encountering Yuri and Marvin fighting. Tim joined in immediately. Although Yuri knew some martial arts, he was no match for two. After a fierce struggle, Yuri was subdued by Tim and Marvin. After tying him up securely, the group began piecing together all the clues. Olivia understood Leah was killed because she discovered Anton's secret, so she asked Tim to examine the partially burnt papers, which showed the arrangement pattern of the brick wall. Tim, a programmer, instantly recognized the papers were annotating the black wall's structure. If the wall's arrangement was a meticulously designed equation, then Anton's papers were the step-by-step solution process, with the final password on them. But unfortunately, it was burnt away. The company name Nano Defense Technologies and its address on Anton's business card were also known to Tim. It was a high-tech company, and their corporate address coincided exactly with the town's fire location. But the password was burnt by Yuri. To get out, they had to confront Yuri again. It turned out Yuri and Anton were colleagues, both working at that nanotech company. Even facing the gun, Yuri frantically insisted this black wall was humanity's ultimate defense system, capable of withstanding any attack, and its activation meant the outside world was destroyed, making this the last refuge, which was why he tried to stop them. Olivia didn't believe him. Then why did Anton, who also knew the truth, try to open the black wall? It turned out Yuri was a conspiracy theorist, firmly convinced yesterday's company fire was deliberate. He believed they wanted to destroy the company first and then start a nuclear war, but the company preemptively released the black wall. He was certain the outside world was now contaminated by nuclear fallout. But Anton thought the fire caused an accidental system malfunction, so he wanted to open the wall, leading Yuri to kill him. But he truly didn't know the password. Marvin was immediately pushed to the brink. Even facing Marvin's violent blows, Yuri refused to utter another word. Frustrated, the group returned to the surveillance room, trying to find some clue there. After carefully replaying the footage before Anton's death, Tim recognized Anton was intently writing a program. Perhaps it was the program to control the black wall. He zoomed in and replayed it, finally confirming the program was on Anton's smashed phone. As long as the memory chip was intact, he could clone the program. Retrieving the phone, Tim removed its chip and transferred the program code to his own device. During the transfer, he discovered the code's unique aspect. It was an optical system. Light is also an electromagnetic wave. Combined with the earlier flashing light, Tim finally understood everything. The black wall needed to be opened with a specific flashlight frequency. After repairing Anton's program, Tim began testing. He tapped the 4 squares corresponding to the strongest magnetic bricks from top to bottom. As his phone's flashlight flickered, the previously unresponsive black wall moved. Anna put her finger into the black wall. She said it felt like inserting it into a warm space. Then she pushed her entire arm in. But the next moment, her expression froze. Just then, Olivia noticed something terrifying. The black wall was rapidly re-solidifying. They had to hurry. Anna was bisected right there. This scene shattered Marvin, and Yuri laughed maniacally. At that moment, Marvin couldn't hold back anymore. Yuri must have known what would happen if the wrong code was entered. Now only Tim and Olivia remained alive in the building. Facing potential entrapment, they lost all desire to argue. Here we finally understand the root of their argument. It turned out 5 years ago, Olivia was pregnant, but Tim, consumed by work, had no time to care for her, which led to Olivia's miscarriage. Since then, Tim worked even more obsessively, never touching Olivia once, which devastated her. A few days ago, she finally got Tim to agree to a trip, but yesterday he refused again due to work overload, leading to their big argument that morning. Olivia had even planned never to return, but this incident changed them. After this aside, Tim thought of something else. What if he tried the opposite direction? Previously, he went top to bottom. This time, he wanted bottom to top. But blindly trying gave only a 1/24th chance. Then Olivia had an idea. The surveillance footage must have recorded the flash frequency. If they could capture it and replicate it exactly, maybe they could escape. Indeed, this time it was correct. The black wall opened successfully. Passing through the bomb shelter's long tunnel, they reached the subway station. Outside was bright, but they didn't know if it was the cold light of apocalypse or the warm glow of sunlight. Tim, clutching Olivia's hand, walked to the exit. Sunlight filtered through the cracks in the black walls, casting fragmented light patterns on the ground, those silent black barriers covering the entire city, showing neither the gloom of radiation nor the scars of war. To be precise, the apocalypse likely hadn't arrived. The so-called ultimate defense was just a technological accident caused by the fire going out of control. All right, folks, that wraps up this episode's plot. We'll see you next time.